Gus Edwards captain? What's his sign? Is Mercury in retrograde? Will Mark Andrews be a leverage play? Can you play NBA cash? These questions answered and more up next on Lulz.
Does he think? I
It's
think
not
he
a
thinks
go.
this. He thinks this is a go. Vegas Dave thinks this is a go.
Hot naked girls doing yoga.
What?
Why don't you just win like a man?
Random.org. Type in 1 for yes, 2 for no, and let the DFS cats pick for you.
And I'm absolutely begging you not to dupe us.
Please.
Please don't dupe us.
Look at that. Sometimes, Brian, you won't believe this. Sometimes I have to improvise these cold opens, just do it right off the cup. And sometimes the chat writes the cold open for me. This was beautiful.
We should bring Dylan on. Bring him on the team.
Well,
That was
I think
perfect.
what we're trending toward, we famously guests book themselves on this show. We're moving toward the chat writing our cold opens. We look to the stars to make our showdown lineups. I mean, you and me are just like a couple AI bots away from not even having to show up and do this show.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. And then that's when the big money comes in, Pete.
That's right. Because what we can do then is we can have Lulz 24 hours a day streaming. Our robots will just handle it.
Just what everybody wants. 24 hours of lulz.
24 hours. They only get 1 hour a week. I mean, Brian, I teased it on Twitter. You were messaging me furiously saying you had like 30 minutes of thoughts on this Kadarius Toney trade to the Chiefs. You had lots of fantasy takes you wanted to get off your chest.
That was honestly the first I saw it was your tweet right now.
I broke the news for you on the Kadarius Toney trade?
Yeah. I think I actually did. I'm in one home league still. And I'm pretty sure I have him on my team.
And so you didn't cut him through this. You were holding strong.
I should say I drafted him. I made one move, right? Because my kicker wasn't playing or something. So I had to. My goal is to make 0 moves and win the league. That's my goal now in home leagues. Just don't even care. Make as minimum moves as possible and still win. And I might have released him. Although I think I had one of the RBs who got injured for Dobbins, maybe somebody who got injured for the year I had. I think maybe it was him. But yeah, so this is big for me. If is he going somewhere that matters at all for DFS?
Yes, he's going to the Chiefs. It might not matter for DFS for a few weeks.
Oh, it kind of matters. I mean, if he's going to play.
Yeah, they're on bye this week. I mean, the thing that's so weird about it is you would think like the Giants were a bad team, that they're 1-6 and getting rid of this guy. And it's like they're 6-1 and like desperately need wide receivers and in our trading, him. So I still think there's like a lot of risk associated with him, but it's super fun. I mean, it's fucking Patrick Mahomes.
I saw the bet was a Ben Baldwin on his like little prediction graphic he has on Twitter where who's gonna from the start of the season to now who's more likely to win the Super Bowl, whatever. And the Giants, despite being 6-1, were still in like the bottom 7 or something on his graph. I'm like, that can't be right, is it? They're horrible, but 6-1 has gotta help.
I think Dayball, man, he's a bit of a miracle worker over there. I mean, imagine like some of these dust ball coaches like Cliff Kingsbury or Nathaniel Hackett with that Giants team. I mean, they'd probably be like 2-4 right now. The chat is interested in what an AI would spit out after watching every Lulz episode. I also do think the 24-hour Lulz channel, like Willie said, would be at least like 2/3 just naked yoga, would be a bunch of the programming mixed in with some AI generated stuff.
Oh, well, our views would go up dramatically.
It would.
Yeah.
It would. Maybe, what if we did? I'm trying to think of business ideas, Brian. Obviously, the OnlyFans meta is still really hot. What if we sponsored a naked yoga OnlyFans brought to you by Lulz? And I'm trying to think how we get rich off of this, but I think there might be something there.
Yeah. Well, considering no one wants to see us naked, that's a problem.
That I know of. Yeah.
Kadarius Toney, zodiac sign.
Yeah. What does it say?
Aquarius.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that do anything for you?
No, it does a lot for me. Real. I mean, once I heard that, now I'm extremely bullish. Extremely.
It says he's 23. Is that right?
Yeah, he's a young pup.
Wow.
Second year wide receiver.
Huh.
It just feels like he's been in the league for longer because he's had a lot of drama associated with him.
What does our resident Chiefs fan think of this trade?
Davis Maddock.
Davis
Oh,
Maddock.
he's called it one of the best days of his life already. He already ranked it in the Discord. It was like his wedding day, the day that Sammy Watkins had a 70-yard run in the Super Bowl, the day he got his dog, and this was fourth. This was fourth on the greatest day of his life. Which I'll tell you what got snubbed on there. Actually, we know the worst day of his life was when his Tyler Hero Top Shot moment sold for $30K. That was actually the worst day.
Yeah, remember he complained too about selling his Hero.
Yes.
Guy buys a house off a Top Shot.
Oh my goodness, God, would I love to be able to buy a house off a Top Shot, because I didn't have any gains to use when I bought my house. So that would have been nice to have some Tyler Hero money in the bank.
His horoscope looks pretty good, I got to say, for him. So looks like it was a good trade.
There you go.
That's my decision. That's my thorough investigation of the Toney trade.
Yeah. Magnus says, do you want to be replaced by robots? Because that's how you get replaced by robots. I mean, Brian and I are both very busy. If we could just keep this show afloat with robots, I think
we're all going to be in the pod anyways, eventually.
Yeah.
So I did see a AI. I think I saw this. I was meaning to look it up to see if I could find it for us, and I haven't had time. I forgot. It was an art generator. I'm sure you've kind of seen some of these. Like they'll generate art automatically for you, but for your podcast like thumbnail things.
Okay.
Logos. And I'm like, oh, that could be kind of fun. Like we don't have to do anything, but we could just type in whatever the joke was of the day and just type it in.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking, Brian, I spend too much of my lifetime making thumbnails. I mean, I'm pretty quick at them. But even then I'm making, I don't know, 9 or 10 a week. I think it ends up being.
The problem is, I think we're still at that human, you need the human interaction still, the human oversight level of this AI technology. Because like I go through our like history, go on your YouTube and look at our stuff, and like your real good thumbnails and clickbaity titles that like are, but still they're clickbaity, but accurate enough where people won't call you out. Like it can double or triple our normal views. It's crazy.
I will say, I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I do think I do a good job with titles. I think I deliver, like you said, on the clickbait. I don't think I have ever put something in that wasn't. Maybe sometimes I put it in as the title before the show, and then we don't end up talking about it. Yeah. But I always change it after the show.
But that's not your fault. I mean,
no. Some people get, what was it? Oh yeah, one time we put like PGA plays in and then forgot to talk about it or something. Some people were upset about that. I've just gotten lots of practice because I've written hundreds of them now for the newsletter too, which is same deal, and then hundreds and hundreds of YouTube titled videos. So it's just I have too many clickbait reps at this point.
What I think this was for is that little logo you get on your podcatcher for audio podcasts. I don't know if you ever noticed this, but some guys actually change them every show. And so I kind of don't like that personally, because I like to know what the logo looks like, because I just want to go to my favorite ones. Okay, they're not in. Then I'll go to my backups. Okay, they're not in. What is this? And I'll click it. That's how I do it anyways. And so like if my favorite one's constantly changing the logo, I actually have to look real closely at my phone to see if they released something yet.
Yeah, because there's two sides to that, right? Like on YouTube thumbnails, you want to avoid what they call pattern blindness, where all of them look the exact same. And then you think naturally, subconsciously, I've already seen that video, even though that might not be the case. So if you're doing that, but I agree with you for podcasts. And this is same with going through a Twitter feed when I don't like it when people change their profile pic a lot. I like the immediate pattern recognition of like, oh, I know that's a Brian tweet, versus you see a new photo and then your mind has to go, who is that from? What did it say? Like, so I do, it's a fine line. It depends what your goal is. I think if it's going to, like in a pod feed or on your Twitter feed, that's going to people who already have subscribed or opted in to what you're doing. And so you just want to make it immediately recognizable for them. But if you're doing it like on YouTube where you're trying to reach a different audience, then you actually want the eye-catching thing that feels new and fresh.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely works if you do it right. And I also think even us old geezers I see are starting to like soften on it and just go like, you got to do it. You know, you look at ETR's headlines and stuff. Like I doubt, Levitan or Silva really want those exact specific ones sometimes.
Yeah.
But they don't care. I bet they don't even care anymore. Who cares? No one cares.
Well, even I think Levitan had a reference on his solo pod where he like filmed a reaction video to, it must have been like the James Robinson trade, like it is Honda Pilot, like driving his kids from soccer practice, because it's like, does Adam actually want to be spending his time doing that? But the job demands that you got to get your instant reaction videos out if you run a major fantasy tout site. So there's elements of the job that you just got to do.
I do think a lot of this stuff will be automated eventually. This is all new. This is all new medium. Still, like people, individual content creators, and all this stuff. So people got to get these tools out to people like you, and eventually they'll make some stuff. I don't think they'll just be replacing Pete. There'll be a robot Pete running 7 shows a week. But
well, the thing is now, right? There's so many. I mean, you can just use fantasy specifically. It's so saturated. There's a million different voices, but the selling point ends up being, I want to hear Levitan's take on this trade. I want to hear his spin. It's not that he's going to necessarily tell you information you can't hear anywhere else, but it's like, I like how he filters this information, how he presents it. Like, I think that's ultimately what people respond to, right? You can go get it anywhere, but it's what are the vibes, what are the style, the packaging that I enjoy receiving it in.
I think they could if you have enough, like Joe Rogan, you have enough content, they could take the everything you say and like kind of figure it out, like they could do with music. They could like recreate, like create a song that's like a classical song based on Mozart, and they could just like make it up now. I bet they'll be able to eventually do that with like takes, with people who have done tons. Like this is a Levitan style AI. What is that? Deep fake. I bet they'll be able to do that.
Well, I could do that, right? Like for my friends or people who have like strong voices, like I could write up copy of Adam Levitan's reaction to something. I could write up Davis. Like I could write up Davis's reaction to the Kadarius Toney thing, and it would probably be pretty close, like my own version of Pete Davis AI.
I could do a copy for him for like sci-fi shows probably, but I know exactly what he's going to say almost every time. Skip Bayless too, like somebody like that. Like, come on, you could AI that guy in like 5 seconds, like, and everyone would believe it.
Have you seen the thing? So the hack that I think Andrew Tate started it, and then like Mr. Beast has now been doing it, and I don't know I'm guessing you don't spend any time on TikTok, but there's this meta right now of podcast clips. And, it's always just a clip of people in a studio, at their mic. You normally will have the subtitles. They're normally like very short clips. They get you where it's almost like 10 to 15 seconds, and it'll be like a nice, clever line or like a joke or a really interesting point, and then it like cuts off. But these podcasts now, they go on a podcast and then they just get sprayed all over because people upload the clips from these TikToks, the Rogan podcast, the Mr. Beast. He basically was hacking this idea of like, he goes on these big podcasts and then knowing that these clips are going to get sprayed out like everywhere. And it's not even the sites or the podcasts themselves that are publishing them. It's fans that are then uploading these clips and sharing them, knowing they're going to get traction from them because it's Mr. Beast and it's a big name. And it's just like this crazy phenomenon now of like clip hacking on TikTok.
I've noticed more Rogan clips on YouTube popping up from which I don't think are his channels. Yeah. Although I can't tell. And they're getting more views because that used to happen in the old Rogan days because they would like do the show live and guys would clip the show live and release it on their channel. So like after right now we've done whatever minutes, they'd have like 5 of them up already on their own channels, like, but just stealing Rogan shit. That's why he stopped going live.
Yeah.
And with his contract, making him exclusive to Spotify, it like that's a lot more incentive for these guys that do pieces of him because who's on Spotify all the time. Like, I mean, I know some people are, but I'm not. So like, I don't mind watching 5 minutes of Dave Chappelle, him talking to Chappelle or Mr. Beast or whatever. Like, that's fine. That's enough. That's enough for me. And if I really like it, then maybe I'll go to Spotify.
I was gonna say I very much enjoy my TikTok scrolling. It's very addictive, and I like seeing all the podcast clips. You kind of keep your finger on the pulse, what people are talking about, stuff like that, interesting thoughts. But to your point, I have not been compelled yet to go and subscribe to a podcast and download like the full episode of being like, oh, I heard this snippet here. I want to go hear this full conversation. Like, I'm just completely at peace with it being like these micro little bites. And I actually have no interest in the full long form version.
This is just like a whole new meta for marketing and like even polling, with the election around the corner here. And like, I see these polls. It's like, you guys, you have no clue what you're talking about. I interviewed for a polling job, believe it or not, back when I was working in that world. And, funny enough, at the time, I didn't actually have enough stats and data in my background, which is what I had to learn all that for DFS. But
you know what you're saying? You're not going to go get back into polling now that you have the
I actually wouldn't mind. That would be something I would be interested in, but like doing it my way, not their way. I didn't like the way they were doing it because like they were still using phones and stuff and like all this old school stuff. It's like, this is not like, I know TikTok voters are probably not voting honestly at a high percentage. But like, even I see John Stossel's website, bettingelectionodds.com. I'm sure a lot of people have checked it out. It like aggregates all the like predicted and the offshores that have American politics, and then converts the odds. I think he adjusts for VIG now. I don't think he knew what VIG was when he first started that site. But like, those markets are they're not liquid. They're not, they're not super liquid. They're not. The limits aren't very high. There's no American markets, which I think is kind of a disservice to people. They might as well just have it illegal in America and everywhere in America, because get these markets as big as and accurate as possible, because it's more information for people to determine what they're going to do. But like, how do you do polling now? Like, do you think those guys know about this like TikTok phenomenon? These like small little things that like, I just don't see how accurate a lot of this stuff could be.
Right. It's like going back to our GPP ownership thing of trying to, you essentially do polling to figure out what is going to set the exposure market and how inexact that kind of stuff is of where sentiment and steam is coming from.
There's no I mean, I do think if you made ownership like a public market where people actually bet on it and the limits got high enough and that, someone was actually cared about, a margin and winning there, like a sports book, I think you could dial in ownership like especially NFL and like PGA, things like more that MMA where you have more time to like sharpen the market. NBA is a little different because LeBron can get ruled out at any minute and then that just flips the slate on its head, as some say. But like these the betting elections, Kubert's saying they're like inefficient, and it's like, that's my point, is like they're like, who's making a living betting on predict it, right? And that's important because that's actually who moves the lines at these books. It's it's not just everyday Joe's betting $100. They don't care. They never move the line. They want to find out who Rufus and Spanky and blah 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 are betting, and then they move them. But you like, why spend your time on projecting elections when you could get down like $8,000 or something, which is a lot for normal people, but it's not a lot to make your livings on. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, yeah, because if it, like you said, if the market got big enough, then you could justify spending your time on it. Like someone like Rufus with something like NFL and Super Bowl props or whatever, like he knows the time investment is worth it based on how much money he can get down. But even if you had an edge, like your hourly rate probably ends up being awful in some of these niche markets.
Yeah. I mean, you probably, it's still probably worth it. I've never really done it, but I imagine I saw, who's the poker guy who does, he's got a YouTube channel, Hanson, I think his name is, Bart.
Oh, Bert or Bart. Yeah. I know who
Bart,
you're talking about.
I think.
Yeah.
I think he said he got like 50,000 down, or maybe more on the last election. That also is a presidential, so I imagine you could probably get your limits a little higher on those. Not these midterms. Not that like let's say it's 20 grand. That's still a ton of money to get down for most people. But they have to make it bigger. They have to let Americans run and put it in those sports books and let everyone bet it. And then you could probably know who's going to be elected in these smaller races pretty accurately.
Yeah. That would certainly be interesting to have that real time feedback loop coming in while elections were going.
Like when Hillary lost to Trump, even all the sports betting markets had her as like a 74% favorite. I think they were like 5 or 6 points more accurate than the actual pollsters. But like that's way off where like that. I know in football anyone could win, but like it's not, polling's not like that. Like people aren't like, the vast majority of people aren't like deciding who they're going to vote for the day of. So like you should have like a fairly certain idea of who's going to win come election day, and being that far wrong, like this is my opinion anyways. Like it's like, okay, this is a super inefficient market. But I'm like, this is like, we're kind of far off the path here, but like that's what made me think of this like TikTok thing is there's so many new ways that people consume and competing sources and stuff. And if you look at like the ratings for like CNN and MSNBC, like they get like their big shows get like 900,000 views. And it's like that's squat. That's squat. And a side note, PGA went off today. Like that's another thing with that, like these kind of like legacy sports organizations are falling behind too, because like PGA is the perfect example. Their coverage is so boring and lame. They don't even broadcast certain events. There's no NBA. NBA doesn't have like a red zone product yet. Like who do you think is going to watch these things 5 years from now? You're competing against all these new content creators. Like you got to do something.
Right. I'm glad you brought up NBA. I'm curious. I know back in the swing of things for NBA DFS, are you playing cash? Are you just playing tournaments? Are you all in again? What's your deal?
I'm playing everything on Yahoo, so cash there, and just tournaments on DK. You said NBA, right?
Yeah.
So I'm winning so far this year, but like I took second in the big one. So on Tuesday, like the first $3,000 buy-in one they had, I didn't take second. I'm sorry, I took third. And it's like you gotta win those. It stinks when you take a second or a third or a seventh.
Yeah.
It's like the stuff where it's just like your guy needs to make one bucket and the other guy his team needed to miss a bucket, and you can't control that at all. You just gotta give yourself as many shots as you can. But like last night I took second in the fadeaway in the late slate. The first place was 50 grand. Second was 13. So it's like, or 10. It was 10. Maybe it was 10 in my total take from that term was 13. I can't remember, but anyways, there's a big drop. And it's like, or maybe I split it. I split second, but either way, you guys, and that was probably a bucket, probably one bucket.
Right. Yeah. And so I take it if you're playing, you think cash on DraftKings is dead, but still some meat on the bone on Yahoo, I would assume.
It's not dead for me, probably, because I'm not going to pay attention that much for those intricacies needed to win NBA cash.
Yeah.
I'm assuming some people can still beat it. I probably could if I really wanted to, but I don't want to spend that much time. And like tonight, 6:30, so 6:30 tip off tonight, and then Showdown's 7:15, right? So that's tough to like get all that in, get both those sports in, and then what if there's a guy ruled out after 6:30 in NBA? It's a pain in the ass to handle NBA late swap. So
we asked I think we're gonna try to get Steve on here one of these days, the Goose saying to Colts on an absolute NBA heater. Who's on more of a heater right now, Ricky D or DeColts?
Ricky D. Come on now.
So Ricky, he shipped the Millie and what was it, the 333 or the 444? Was it 2 weeks ago?
4.
And then had multiple top lineups on the Showdown for Bears?
Yeah, he took first in the 222, the 55. So, and I think I think I'm right on that. And first in the half a milli. He split that one though. What a loser!
Wow, can you imagine splitting? I mean, do better, Ricky. Make better lineups, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to get the Colts on here too. But I mean, Ricky was I think he had his usual tweet too of telling people that they don't actually have to play NBA DFS. That I assume for a lot of grinders, there's this it's NBA season. This is what I always do. But Ricky says he quit and has never looked back to playing NBA DFS.
I want him to convince guys who are break even or better to quit. So I appreciate his public service.
You want him to convince the Colts and Petty Theft and
those
guys to
guys,
stop?
You don't need to play DFS. Listen to Ricky D. Come on, Petty Theft. Life is more important than your stupid NBA DFS. Okay, just give it a pill.
Yeah, and I have heard lots of people saying that they're not enjoying NBA DFS cash games. Seeing a lot of people go more the props avenue too for picking off some of those early lines. Even this week for me for football, the past couple of weeks, I've gotten more heavy into attacking some of these early underdog lines because it's a funner exercise for me than playing cash games anyways, and probably more profitable.
Oh, cash games. Yeah. And yeah, the tool actually does work for NBA, by the way, too. So if anyone on Underdog and Prize Picks and Super Draft, DraftKings, use Upload, Stochastic, ETR, whatever, your own shit, doesn't matter, and overlay it and just you pick your. And apparently, I haven't put much time into it, but they're pretty beatable. It sounds like. And on some of the other ones, those kind of like tournament structure ones, I guess the overlay is really good. And if you're someone who's going to willing to put in cash game time, that's probably a much easier way to get your grind your 1.7% edge or whatever your NBA would be at this point.
If for any of you guys who are YouTube members are interested if you're in the Hand Builder and Opto Bro tier, get you access to my Sunday AM crams. But one thing I've been doing is posting the best lines on Underdog, doing basically what Brian's describing and comparing them against early projections. Because there's only a few projection sets that are actually out late Tuesday, early Wednesday, and then just moving really quickly on those before the lines get changed. So have been doing that for subscribers who are YouTube members to that channel. If you guys want access to that on Wednesdays, and also obviously recommend the Brick Caddy tool if you have your own projection set that you want to upload and compare against those.
And let me say something too on this. The shrinking of DFS kind of as sports betting is getting more and more legal. Like this is kind of a trend people are talking about, and some industry guys are seeing that there's like a 20% drop in DFS users moving over to play sports betting. I think there's a couple things there. One is like we're saying right now, there's bonuses and Prize Picks and these kind of easier ways to make money. But eventually they're doing a lot of that just to get you to sign up so they get this big user base. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're kind of giving away money. You know this, Pete, obviously. And so once that dries up though, I'm not sure it might go back. They might go back to DFS, right? When they're not just getting free reload bonuses and $1,000 free bets, maybe these Prize Picks or whatever will up their odds on the parlays or whatever, who knows? I don't know what's going to happen, but those users could go back to DFS. It's just, it's free money right now.
It is interesting. There was a conversation in the Hand Builders and Opto Bros channel in my Discord, and even just observing my own college buddy friends. And I've never been able to get them in on DFS. Can't even get them to do a best ball draft, but they will tail any slip I post in our group chat. They'll just snap tail it. They're like, oh, I have a sweat. And I do think there is something to that. It requires so little mental energy
Yeah.
and you have it. Whereas like the time needed to do a draft versus, I mean, the time needed to hand build a good DFS lineup. I mean, it's like, sure, you can do it very quickly, but to do it well, like you need to invest a decent amount of time. And I do think there will always be something appealing to just basically zero effort for people with betting in those slips.
And then the second thing, I'd like your opinion on this. So I talk about how, there's the legislation that allowed DFS to become legal in the first place, and the states eventually codified it. Like part of that said that you have to guarantee prize pool before and can't change it. Now, there's like a double-edged sword with that. So once they guarantee it, they might be wrong, and you get overlay. That's good, obviously, right? But they might not launch as many GPPs and tournaments or get them as big as they can, because they cap them incorrectly, or they're risk averse and don't want to lose money. I think that would be a good step. And tell me if I'm wrong. So I want to hear your opinion on it. Like for something for them to lobby to change that at the federal level, to make it where they don't have to guarantee prize pool. So what would happen? It would suck for us as DFS players because we lose a lot. We would lose a lot of overlay opportunities.
Yep.
Not all of them, but a lot. But they're drying up anyways, is my argument. And I'd rather have these companies incentivized to make easy money off of DFS so they could keep advertising it, like sports books, because they're guaranteed a profit on sportsbook. So let's change that law so they're guaranteed a profit on DFS too. So they don't have to worry about being right or wrong, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 different players, whether they make money on that. And then they could just make as many tournaments as they want, because it doesn't matter. If you go, you could keep filling it. So they can make it, let's say 50K to first. And then as more and more players enter, they'll like, okay, now it's 100K because there's so many people in here.
Yep.
And it was just like poker, just like the poker days. And they could be guaranteed on everything they create. And it'll be another incentive for them to pump some more money back into DFS.
It would be huge for them, right? Because it would take out any risk of, like you said, eating money with overlay. And potentially, if there ends up being this fun game and all this interest, and people are just piling on entries into a milli maker that could literally turn into a two milli maker on a random Thursday, just because there's so much attention or intrigue, then that's more money that they're able to rake. And that's how like the Sunday Millions for the poker used to be, right? It was just reactive to how many people wanted to enter it. Then the prize pool gets restructured accordingly.
Mm-hmm. And then you'd see like alerts in 2+2. Oh, the Sunday Millions up to some enormous amount this week. It's just a bunch of people are playing, so it'd go even higher. And like, because we don't want, I mean, it sucks. We want overlay, obviously, but we also want DFS to, flourish. Right. And so like they need to be incentivized too as the business owners. So like and how much overlay are we going to have anyways, 2 years from now, 3 years from now? So like I could see a lot of people being pissed off at that recommendation, honestly, Pete, but I think it's probably for the best long term to just see if they can get rid of that law. No one cares anymore anyways, right? Like it's legal in almost every state. And then they could treat DFS as this guaranteed so on their quarterlies, they have they know what they're going to get from DFS. Yeah. They know how much money their investors will be, more likely to invest in the product and all sorts of things like that. And I could be wrong here, but that's my idea.
Let me play devil's advocate, even because I would personally like to see that. How would that change your strategy though for a showdown contest where obviously dupes are an issue and the field is changing dynamically? Like, what's a good lineup at 200,000 entries is much different than 500,000 entries.
I didn't even think of that. Flip-flopping. I don't want them to change anything.
That's what I thought.
It's a horrible idea. We need that overlay, Pete. Keep that law the same. These dirty lobbyists are trying to screw you people.
Can you imagine making your plus EV lineup and you're looking at your sub 5 estimated dupes, and then you check in back in an hour and it's projected to be duped 25 times.
It's 3 times the entrance because they all enter in the last 5 minutes and I don't have time to change. Oh my God, that would suck. Yeah. So now I'm thinking ahead, we'd probably eventually it would stabilize. And even though there's only, let's say 100,000 entries, I know normally it'll be between 150 and 180, and I would just prepare for it. before, and like this will probably, but that was hilarious. Yes, you're right. I did not even fucking think of that. That would fuck me up a bit.
I know. Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be a little bit less of a big deal for a main slate, like I think you'd probably still be able to act, kind of accurately, and you just don't have to worry about it. But the
also,
showdown
like,
would be a nightmare.
Yeah, for me it would be I didn't think of that at all. Now I'm happy with the way it is, as long as DFS doesn't completely die. But like there also was this cat and mouse game for the poker sites. Remember, Pete? Like they would have like they would have overlay because they still know that the users want the guaranteed prize pool. Like they want the big prize. So like if you put the Millie Maker instead of a million to first, you put it at $25,000, right? Just so they know for sure they're not going to lose any money. They would lose a ton of money because no one would enter. Right? It would have to organically, people just randomly join that one to build it up to a million. So they still have to put a guaranteed minimum there to entice people. Yeah. And so there still would be a little overlay, and they would still be doing these guaranteed prize pools. At least in my opinion, I would assume it would go the same way. So I think it's just overall, like leaving my personal process aside for a second, I think it would probably be better off. Actually, that would be, Pete, that would be better for recreational players too, because like you said, it would screw up the pros a little bit for judging dupes and shit, and like give them a better shot.
Level the playing field
a little bit for a while, but probably not for too long. Who knows? They always adjust.
Right, because you'd probably have enough data to estimate what the final size would be. And
that's what I would do, probably. Yeah. I have to think about it. Obviously, I didn't think of that for my suggestion. So
you were, I did see you were, I know it was a bit on Twitter, but you were looking at Ricky D's exposures for his Monday Night Football here. Were you? How do you think how do you think he got on such a Bears heavy thing? Do you think this was a little IKB here? Is this his Sims putting him on it? Because he was definitely way overweight what most people were on the Bears.
I have no idea. I'm assuming since he had Santos too, there was there must have been something in there. I mean that like gets you pretty contrarian automatically, without having to like drop your salary and projection so low. I mean, I don't know what his Sims are telling him. It's probably something like that. I'd be interested in honestly like what he did with Mac Jones and what the salary of the Bears and Santos and stuff were, because if that Zap news came at like 7:07, so like 8:07 your time. That's when I thought.
Yep.
And so there was only 5 minutes left. I was already downstairs. I had my TV on. I was like getting ready to watch like Game of Thrones because I missed it on Sunday or something. And I'm like, fuck it. Hopefully this guy's wrong. Hopefully Schefter's wrong. I think it was Schefter, whoever it was. And I didn't change a damn thing. But if you saw that at like 7:10 or something, you could theoretically just go, well, fuck it. Swap Mac Jones to somebody. And then there'd be lineups that it didn't work. And then you go swap him to somebody else. And then there'd be a few lineups that didn't use. So you just like swap him to Montgomery. And then there's a bunch that didn't work. Okay, give me the Bears. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, Santo. I'm not saying that's what he did, but and he left with 1.3. Usually that is like what the sim tells you. Like, and this is my opinion. Like if you are using an optimizer and you're not using like this kind of full process and you get 1.3% of a guy, just X him out. Right. Because the sim's saying like these few lineups in this specific combination are still plus EV, even though you're way under the ownership. It sounds like I got a delivery or something, but so like, but if you're using an optimizer, just X them out. But if you're using your full process sim, you leave them in, obviously. So maybe this was just everything he spit out before even the Zap news. But that's the only other thing I think of is the Zap news came out and he's just like, okay, swap. He's at dinner or something. Swap. Fuck it. It's Showdown. I just won $1 million yesterday. I do not care.
I'm curious. So I actually had a good night on Showdown on Monday night as well. I was a Herbert touchdown away from shipping the big $3 one. Ended up finishing like 20th or whatever with a few dupes. But like what I've been using are the Run the Sims thing. And then I run sims on various scenarios like so one of the scenarios I obviously ran was a Bears blowout, which, ended up being what hit. And I went and looked. And of course, that lineup came from my Bears blowout scenario. And then I'm looking for lineups that don't project for a lot of dupes within those various scenarios that I run. But I'm curious here too, like what do you like if because I'm basically trying to replicate like your full scale process, but like piecing it together with the sims and trying my alternate inputs. Is yours, do you think, capturing, or say what Ricky's doing? Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is this, like, I'm grabbing scenarios from various game things and finding the best lineups within those scenarios versus if I just picked one scenario, hey, Bears blow them out, and then run all of my lineups from that scenario. Is your process closer to that or to the way I did it?
I think, I don't know which one it's closer to, but like, because for your process, I would say like you have to find out, how are you finding out what is the good alternative scenarios? Like, what are the plus? Is the Bears blowout the good alternative scenario that's plus EV? And so that's kind of what a full sim process does, is
Right.
it goes through all these iterations and compares these interactions and then goes like, oh yeah, you should go. So like, I was pretty close to him on a lot of this stuff except for that Bears change. And when he does 1.3% Mac Jones, like, of course that would change a ton of my stuff if I did that. But like, I'm not guessing at, I like the thought though. Obviously we've talked about that strategy before, is if you don't have the whole bottom up approach, well, what do you have to kind of guess.
Yeah.
And then, okay, if the Bears win, I know automatically this is going to be contrarian. And so like, you're going to be duped less. And then what are the best lineups in that scenario?
Yeah.
Enter. Or you probably do like 50 of those, then 50 from another and 50 from another or something. What do you do?
Right. Well, that's my thing. So like, say I'm running like the base level sim, which is based off of the implied totals, how the public thinks the game is going to go. I'm still looking for lineups that are going to be unique within that set, but I'm probably sacrificing more projected points in those scenarios to get to a unique lineup versus if I play the outlier game scenario, I'm probably sacrificing less projected points while also getting in unique lineups and constructions. And so I've been just kind of chopping them every which way. And I'm kind of, again, you don't want to be reactive to stuff that just happened, but I'm like, maybe I should just forget the baseline assumption one and pick a few of the outlier ones that I think are going to be the path of least resistance and focus on those.
Right. That's kind of what I was like describing with looking at his lineups, where, if the Bears do win, then you're going to want a decent amount of them because they're going to win in this fashion. And they didn't really win in that fashion, by the way. Like their Bears D, they played pretty decent. Santos did get some points though, didn't he? Didn't he get at least a couple field goals?
He was in the optimal, I believe.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So like what one of the things that for me, not having my own process, like getting to use the simulator on Run the Sims, it just defaults to the implied team total for the Ravens. And so I can do stuff like, all right, this game's a push, but what if it's the Bucks winning, by 20, and just changing these and then knowing, all right, just based on these simple inputs, and you can go in and fiddle with the rush rate and some of that if you want to. I don't like to mess with it too much, but just naturally here, I know that these custom lineups, which are going to be obviously all 5-1 Bucks onslaughts in this scenario, like most of the field outside of like sim process bros are probably not going to be attacking it this way.
Yeah, I like it. Like that's just thinking, like I said, you do like 50 of those, 50 from a different scenario, 50 from a different scenario, actually do more than that, and then put them all in Excel and then remove duplicates.
Yep.
You might get the same ones.
That's what I do. Yeah.
Take your 150, pop it in. It can't be that bad.
Yeah. And the nice thing too, I like aggregating ownership from a few places, but Run the Sims does they have their own ownership provider, which gets you, close enough. And then they do spit out your product own here. And this is another fun thing too, if you can just gauge. So look at the product owns, like on some of these top lineups, sub 50 product own here. And then if I go and run like the baseline assumption sim, I'm going to bet that the top lineups have a much higher product own here. We'll see if I'm right. See, almost all of them. Oh, let me scroll over. Maybe I won't be right.
This is
But yeah,
another
see,
way.
look at these all over 100 product owned because it's the more default assumption in the sim.
Look at that first one. Look at Tucker as captain and
This-
kicker.
Oh my goodness.
That doesn't happen that often with a sim. It'll happen a lot with an optimizer, but not with a sim.
Yeah, Justin Tucker here, the 9th most frequented. Of course, Justin Tucker rocking the captain there.
This is another way too, Pete. If you go back to the inputs, I think section, where when I mentioned like, how do you know? Okay, who's the chalk running back tonight? Edwards probably.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing here. You can see what Justin's default market share
has to be. Right.
Fournette, yeah, on the Bucks for sure.
So like, okay, how do you know? Let's say this was a classic slate because it's a little hard on Showdown, but like, how do you know Fournette is worth 28% ownership or not? You're just guessing. You're completely, most people, anyways, the vast majority of people, they're just guessing. They're like, nah, that's high. I'm going to go under it. Fournette, he was overweight in preseason. I'm going to go under it. Like the astrology stuff starts creeping in, and then you either fade them or you go over them, but you don't really know how. Here, you could just go, okay, what if Fournette blows and just move his market share down, or TD rate down, or whatever those all of them are in there.
Yeah.
And then run it. Don't go crazy. Drop it like 25% or something, and be like, oh, he's still in all my top 150. Like, okay, then he's probably good chalk. But if you drop him by like 5% and he drops out of like half of them, like, okay, maybe he's maybe he's on the cusp, and maybe this might be a good guy to fade. You could just tinker with that to test who's your chalk guy, who's your not chalk guy.
And this was, again, we didn't have a lot of time with that Schefter report on Monday, but say this was the Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi thing, you could come in here and adjust Brady's market share. You could say, hey, if Belichick isn't full of shit and this is a 50-50 for the passing, and then see what the lineup spit out with how much Zappi, how much Mac Jones, you're probably getting very little Mac Jones in that scenario. It's, again, just the way to check the math against your own personal assumptions there.
Exactly. You could go like, okay, I think Schefter bullshits a lot. I'm going to put just 10% chance.
Just 10.
That, like 90-10. Does that? Oh, holy shit. Now Mac Jones is only in 5% of my lineups. Maybe I should just get him out of it. Or maybe he was just like great value, and at 9-10, he's still in there. So like you could only do this on Showdowns, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But this is exactly how I would test whether it's good chalk or bad chalk. I mean, you still have to build good lineups and all. There's more to it than that. But people are always focused on ownership in those specific examples. And like I always say, people are astrology bros. They're just guessing and making shit up that they read in these, all the content out there. But this actually tests.
And that's what I like too. You mentioned too of like, you can almost stress test chalk. So like, just as an example here. So in the default sim, Leonard, let's see who has the highest flex rate here. I don't want to use a quarterback. Let's just use Leonard Fournette here, flex rate at 42%. And I see the chat talking about Rachaad White. I love Rachaad White too. Let's say this is the game he really eats in, and that this is more of a 50-50 split here. So
yeah, I wish you could. I do wish. I know you can't. I wish you could just make it where the running backs suck balls somehow. So like, because obviously if you give it all to White, he's gonna pop a ton.
Yeah.
But then that messes with the wide receivers and stuff. We're just trying to A/B test specific players, but it doesn't matter. Do what you're going to do with Fournette here.
Yeah. So I was just going to see like, so it's right now at 60-31, let's see so what does that add up to? 99. So if I were to give, let's just get it closer. Let's do like 50-49 for the market share there. And then let's chop off 3 here and add 3 here to the, oops.
It's too big. Keyshawn Vaughn's salary so low. If he was like $2,000, you could give him 5 or 10%. He wouldn't ruin it. But yeah.
Oh, wait, what did I do with my math here? I messed up my math. This is the one problem here.
It should like autofill the remaining guys like proportionally.
Yeah. Wait, it should. Hang on. Sorry, guys. My math is now struggling here. 7.5. I did that right. Is that not right?
Yeah, that's not right.
Hang on here. God damn it. This is
49's right
painful.
there.
Okay. Why is my math not
I think it's
working
your
on the
market share on the receiving.
receiving?
Yeah.
Should be 9.4. Why am I doing my math wrong? I want to take 3 away, so that would take him down to 10.4.
Fournette's too high now too. He's 60.
Yeah, I know that one just reset. I'm going to send this
okay.
one back to 50. And then this one goes to 49. And I was giving him 3. Shouldn't this be 10.5? What am I missing?
10.4 and then 7.5. They make Fournette 7.5, right?
Okay. Just reverse them.
Yeah.
All right. What? This does not like it. Total market share could not exceed 100.
Well, fuck his receiving. Just do the rushing.
This is proving to be harder than I wanted it to be. The point, however, let's just do this rushing share. Let's say this gets closer here. I don't know why that math wasn't working out. It should be 10.5 and whatever. What the fuck? Now this isn't working. All right. I'm tilted here. I can't do it.
That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Okay, there you go. Oh, it was the rushing share because I wasn't factoring in fucking Tom Brady's 6% rushing share.
Oh, duh.
That's why. Thank you, chat. So let's see here what he goes down from. So Fournette, see, this is where it's interesting to me. Fournette's flex rate didn't change much at all.
He was at 44, I think, right?
Yeah, he went down a couple. Rashad White came up a decent bit.
Yeah.
But so this is like, I like stress testing this. And I did this with Taysom Hill on the Showdown slate the other night where I was like, what if I give him even more of a market share of rushing, even more, because he was priced up. He still was barely popping in the thing. And it was like, even if you give him outlier touches, he still is not popping here. So you truly need like outlier touchdown variance for him to get there, which of course can happen, but it just helps kind of show, is this still a good play or not?
For sure. It works the opposite way too, where guys like overpriced. Everyone knows it. Like, okay, but let's just see if he does. How much does he have to go off to make it worth it? And if it's like 2 touchdowns and 80% of the share, and to get him, to finally get him in some lineups, well, then he's probably just bad, and everyone in the field's right, and you should lay off of him. But like that's just like if you're I think A/B testing specific guys. I think your initial strategy is much better of playing out the game in certain scenarios, taking batches from those, and then making sure you don't have duplicates in your Excel sheet. Not talking about duplicates versus opponents in a GPP.
Yeah, and so like this one is if you're playing it as a super low scoring game, and you'll of course see here lots of Justin Tucker, lots of Ravens. You have double defense here, so it is just nice. This was the thing that I was never able to do with an optimizer, right? Like I'm just never getting these correct game scenarios, right? Where it's able to factor in if this game comes in, 20 points under the total, what's that impact to the overall scoring? Like an optimizer just can't capture that.
You could also export this and then filter it. Like, some lineups will have the same projected points, or in this, the frequency it wins, which is even way more information and way different ownership. So you could just delete the one and leave the other.
Yep. All right, Brian, as MJ said, far too many numbers unsubbing. We're losing the people who came for the best plays. I think it's time for us to build a shipper here, dude.
All right. We're getting closer, Pete.
We are. I will say, so the lineups, I want to say maybe like 2 out of 4 of our lineups that we built on stream this year so far have either cashed or had okay sweats at one point or another.
At least 2.
Much
least. Stronger record than our previous showdowns, which were some of the worst lineups created on a public platform.
Our golf lineups have a truly horrendous track record.
Yeah, but they were also like really bad, like because we were really trying to get no dupes, staying on brand. But they were like they had like no chance of winning.
So the one piece of news that I do think could shake the Sims up tonight, Julio Jones is a game time decision. I know Run the Sims right now doesn't have him projected for any market share of receiving, but that is one name to keep an eye on here. Who do you want? Do you want to look to the stars, Brian? Do you have a captain for us?
No, I'm going back to Ren the Sims. I wanted to try something.
Okay.
Now, if anyone's got an astrology take though in the chat, let's hear it.
Yeah. Do we have an Australia? We'll take suggestions for captains here or a game flow scenario. Anyone want to see something insane?
And this is it's strange, Pete. This is like one of the biggest, if not the biggest, showdown slate of the whole year, besides maybe the opening day. Did you notice that?
I mean, I did see the 132,000 million up top. Why do you think that is?
They got $1 million up top. They also have a 3,000 million up top today. 3,000 entry. They got a full mid stakes one. Maybe this is just their mid season. Is it mid season? Close. Not really
getting there. Yeah,
getting there. But I don't.
So this suggestion by Vincent is when I was looking. So in the base sim, Godwin had a 19% optimal captain rate, and I'm seeing his average ownership around 11. So he was looking like the best captain. Do the stars agree? What is Chris Godwin's horoscope looking like?
Well, should we check?
I think we should before we cement this.
Yeah, I guess we do have to check the captain's sign. He's a Pisces, Pete.
Okay.
Does that do anything for you?
It sure does. It makes me feel things I didn't know I was capable of feeling.
It's a water sign.
Okay.
All right.
It's because he's going to be splashing around in the end zone.
Information that comes your way today could launch you into a search for truth, Pisces. I love how they talk to him by their name. Perhaps this is a new business-related idea that you want to explore. It could be a new philosophical interest, and you will want to learn as much as you can about it. Whichever it is, your mind is sharp. So you're likely to finish the day a lot more knowledgeable than you were when it began, Pete.
I like this. I'm very much on board with this. I do think we have to stack him with touchdown Tommy, right? If Chris,
probably. I mean, we're chalky here now, huh?
We are. We're gonna have to start. We're gonna need some kind of galaxy brain, some kind of lots of salary left on the table.
I mean, we could. So there's a couple ways we could go 2-4.
Yeah.
We get us unique. I prefer obviously 5-1 4-2s.
Do you know who also looks really good to me as far as popping in the Sims relative to ownership is Scotty Miller. 20% optimal sim rate, only 4% average projected ownership right now. How do we feel about Scotty Miller's sign here?
I see that. I mean, sure. Why not?
Okay. Ooh, Joe says if we're doing horoscopes, Chris Godwin, who's number 14 on a day with 14 in the date. Wait, what is 14 date numerology?
14 date.
Where's the 14 coming from? Isn't it today the 27th?
14 on a day with 14 date numerology.
I don't know if I'm tracking there.
Not following that one. All right. What we got to take one Raven. At least, right?
Yes, I'm putting in Scotty Miller. We definitely need one Raven.
Ravens are lame.
Oh, thank you for spelling it out to me. All digits add up to 14. Wow. My mind is officially blown.
I still don't get it, but my mind is also blown.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has their own methodology. I mean, if that's date numerology is what works for your process, then by all means. Also, yeah, stop making fun of me. Went over my head. Get out of here. Looks like it went over all of your head. Okay.
This show is not about math, okay? Clearly.
So, how about this one? How about a little Isaiah Likely here? Mark Andrews, clearly not 100%. Didn't even catch a pass last week. Got to be extremely low ownership here. What do you think about Isaiah Likely?
Well, let me look at his sign, Pete. He's an Aries like me. And let's read our horoscope for today. Although you're usually very responsible, I don't know how true that is, and you try to keep the proper balance between your home and professional lives. Today, your mind and heart are more focused on your home. A warm sense of unity with family and close friends can make for a very pleasant day and even more relaxed, more pleasant evening. All right. That means I'm probably going to win tonight, Pete. Even
That's what I
finishing
like
up
to hear.
paperwork will seem easier than usual. Relax and enjoy a great evening.
I love this. I love this. So we have 10, a little over 10K that we can spend on these last two, which means we basically can do
Whatever we want.
whatever we want. I'm just saying if we jammed Lamar with Likely, then we would probably want to do one more buck and leave some salary on the table.
I mean, even if you did Fournette, you'd have 1,100 left.
What do you think? How many times do you think this lineup is duped? Actually, let me look at my spreadsheet.
What's Scotty Miller's ownership and Likely? That's not a lot, right?
I think it might be okay. How big is this contest here?
It's huge. The
Massive.
million?
Yeah.
It's probably 150,000. I didn't look.
Okay.
I'm looking at Stochastic.
Yep.
We got Scotty Miller at that's his fantasy 2 points projected. That's my kind of showdown guy though. That like 1 and 2 point range. That's how you could win a million maker.
Let me see. I put this in here. So this contest is 132,000. I actually think this is going to be okay. I had 178,000.
He's 3%, Likely 9%.
Yeah. I have this projected for 5 dupes.
5 dupes?
That's right in the sweet spot.
Okay.
There we go. Ship it.
That's a winner.
But hopefully it's around. We have 158 people watching tonight. So there's going to be the 5 people who aren't watching that would just naturally algorithmically dupe us, plus the 158 watching. So I'm projecting somewhere around 160, 161 total dupes.
Okay. So 1 million divided by 160.
Yeah.
That's
how much is that?
$6,250.
But that doesn't include the other prizes, right? I mean, we got to go down that's just the top prize, right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although it's so top heavy, it's still
pretty much just that.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what, Brian? Nothing would make me happier than, a $7,000 shipper with all of Lulz. Be great.
Yeah, you've been dying to get on that first place Millie winner list, Pete. So.
I know. I need to add it to my bio so bad. You're no problem. 6250 per. There you guys go. Brian, anything else for you here today?
No, I don't think. MMA on Saturday again. Chase the Dream Hooper's fighting. So this will be a fun.
Is he really?
Card.
Didn't he just fight?
No, it was a while ago. A few months ago at least.
Tell me
he smoked that last guy. So
what happened with my guy Sean O'Malley? So he shouldn't have won the fight. That's what everyone says.
I was gonna ask you. I actually didn't get to see that fight. I saw John Kelly is in here. John, you thought Jan won, right? Because that would have helped me big time. I had 49% Jan and 6% O'Malley.
Wow.
And he got no, you can't. Chase Hooper's not your guy. We know how you feel about Chase Hooper. You're never getting that back. Okay, you're never getting that.
What is it? Olivia Nunes? Is that who it was?
No, yeah. Amanda Nunes.
Amanda did it. Yeah.
But yeah, like Jan got like 71 fantasy points, DK points.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I just wanted it for DK purposes. Whatever.
It was a pretty chalky slate. I actually played it, and I did not do well, which I just assume means it was a chalky slate.
Yeah, it's been a chalky, dupey year in general, right? Like not year, last month or two with NFL since NFL started.
Oh yeah,
a lot of chalk win in NFL, a lot of dupes. What was it? The last Showdown site, wasn't it? $800.
There was 1,100 dupes on one of those, wasn't
Yeah,
there?
yeah. Tiny
Yeah.
ones. And MMA was the same way, I think. Tiny first place because it was split so many ways.
Yeah.
But apparently people like that, so enjoy. I guess I'll continue losing, but yeah, hopefully that Chuck fucking turns around a little bit.
Hopefully tonight's our night. Unless the chalk is the Lulz lineup build, in which case that's great. Chalk. If you guys do want to check out Run the Sims, for those of you who don't have your own sim process like Brian, I do seriously recommend it. You can get 10% off with promo code P. You can try off a daily or a weekly pass, but get access to that. They also just launched their own NFL underdog tool as well, using their inputs to compare the prop line. So all kinds of good stuff going on over at Run the Sims. Definitely recommend it. Brian will get the audio up for this podcast. You have all your good stuff going on over at brick75.com. Anything else I'm forgetting?
That's it.
Yep. All right, dudes. We appreciate you. Good luck tonight. We'll see you next time.